Trenton 365 with Jacque Howard. Profiling the businesses, organizations, and people that make Trenton better.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Trenton 365 Show. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. You can send me an email, trenton365show@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Trenton 365 Show, and on Twitter as well, Trenton 365. WIMG 1300 is the first station to have the Trenton 365 Show, and I'm really proud of that. WIMG is the oldest radio station in the state of New Jersey and the 3-time Stellar Awards winning station as well. And you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, WIMG 1300. And if you're watching, it's over WPHY Channel 25 covering Mercer County, New Jersey. So back in the program with me is author and artist Rashad Malik Davis. And those of you who are watching on TV, the book is finished. So Rashad, we're going to spend this hour talking about all these wonderful things that are happening with Rashad, not only just with his book, but just in general, because he's everywhere in the region right now. A lot is happening with him, and it's awesome to be able to see how this all manifests. I was introduced to him about a year ago from Eric Thomas, who is a member of the Regis Entertainment jazz promotion company that I'm a part of, and he said, look, there's this young man who's just absolutely amazing. You've got to meet him. He's an author. He's an artist. He's awesome. I'm like, yeah, let me check out his stuff. And then same thing. I'm enamored. I'm running all over the place telling people about this guy and get him on the show, and he's doing all these amazing things. And so for the next hour or so, we're going to be talking about all the details. We're going to be talking about not only where he is now, forthcoming things, but we're going to deal with some of the things like from the beginning, what led him into writing books and his artistic endeavors. And we're going to touch on a few other things as well. So without any further ado, Rashad Malik Davis, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be back. This is awesome.
And folks, don't think that he's just this excited for me. He's just this excited in life all the time.
Generally.
So I'm stoked about that. So let's start off and give the folks a little bit of information about where you're from, where you went to school, etc.
Sure. So as far as where I'm from, I was born in Staten Island, New York, and then moved to Lawrenceville, New Jersey in 1999, and have been here since. So at this point, I'm a New Jersey native.
That's it.
But as far as school goes, where I went to school, I went to I went to high school actually at St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City. And then for undergrad, I went to Tufts University up in Medford, Boston, Massachusetts. And then I'm pursuing and finishing up my few classes online through the Savannah College of Art and Design, which is in Savannah, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to drill down on that because I know that was a whole big process to get into school at Savannah School of Art and Design. And it was this thing that you were just like, oh my God, this is really going to happen.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about that.
Exactly.
And what's the local connection with you and school as well?
As far as local schools?
Yes.
Oh, sure. So I actually have been going to a lot of local schools that I used to go to. Slackwood Elementary School was the first school that I ever went to out here in New Jersey, and Dr. Wendell, who was the principal at the time, welcomed me in with open arms, which was awesome. I've been there, and that was phenomenal, visiting the students and talking about my journey and kind of like inspiring them to do the same. And then I went to Lawrence Intermediate School, which is 4th through 5th grade, I want to say. And I had a wonderful opportunity to connect with students on a large scale at an assembly, and then I went to the classrooms and eventually got a chance to like hang out with the kids and talk about my journey and just talk about what they're into. It was really great. It was really great.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back and talk about the support from the beginning. I know that you spoke so highly of your mother and the influence that she had on you. And mothers always have that influence on people's lives. Exactly. But it's like when you see people developing into these amazing human beings like yourself and doing wonderful things, not only for their community, but for other people in general. It's awesome. And you're always out front talking about your mother and what she means to you and did mean to you in the beginning. For sure.
Well, it's when I say my mother, I have to include my aunt too, because she's like my second mother, my Aunt Angela. So both she and my mother, Brenda, they both have just been so supportive of me since the beginning. I remember I showed them a tracing that I did of an old Disney movie, and I was like, "Here, do you like it?" And they laughed in my face because it was like my first drawing, and they were like, But little did they know that I'd be doing this as a career. And my aunt used to tease me. I used to bring my sketchbook with me to like dinner. I like to Red Lobster everywhere, and she was like, "Why do you bring that with you?" And then now I'm like, "Well, now you see."
Exactly. With the little
Right, with the finger point. But no, they've been, heaven sent and just, really tremendous in terms of how much they've supported me, emotionally, mentally, financially, just everything, just helping me out and get to where I need to get to. They drove me single-handedly from New Jersey to Savannah, Georgia, which was a really long drive. And it was just, they've been really incredible. And my father as well has been an incredible support system, just really guiding me and helping me along the way. So they all have been instrumental and really powerful in their own individual ways.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think sometimes we get mixed up into thinking that there's one particular way that we are supposed to be, whether humans or parents or relatives, etc. But it's not. I mean, it's just kind of constantly evolving, changing, because there's really no particular one way to do everything.
Exactly.
So, I'm glad that you mentioned that about your father in the mix as well. When you were sketching, when you mentioned that story of how like you showed your aunt and your mom this trace that you did of a Disney character, and they were like, so when that happened, how old were you?
I was really young. I couldn't have been more than like 5 years old at the time, maybe three, four, 5. I don't remember, but I was very young. And at the time they supported me. I mean, even though they laughed, I knew it was like in love. So it didn't hurt my feelings or anything. But I was like, I have to continue. I have to keep going. And just having their support continuously. And as they watched me kind of improve, they were like, oh wait, okay, he's moving from tracing to drawing detailed characters that aren't that bad for a kid his age. And then I developed, and they're like, okay, this needs to be something as far as a career goes. Mm-hmm. And it's actually funny because I put off art for almost like two or 3 years of my life, and I didn't pursue it. I think I was kind of afraid of my own kind of strength and my own kind of power to do good in the world through art, and I let my fears kind of take over and be like, oh well, this, I'm not good enough, I'll never have a career in this. Oh yeah, everybody else was pushing me, but I think I was my own worst enemy at that point.
Mm-hmm. And at approximately that age, 5 or so, did you know that you wanted to be an artist?
At that age, I knew that it was fun for me. I knew that it brought me joy, and it's interesting because that's kind of what I don't want to say preach, because that sounds like I'm ministering to people, but that's what I kind of talk to kids about is, those things that bring us joy, and that we can give back to the world in some form or fashion is to me are really our life purposes, is really our life purpose. The things that we can do without having to get paid, and that we can just that brings us joy and that we can share and spread elsewhere. I always think that that's your life purpose, and I always tell kids, like, if there's something that you love and you wake up every day excited to do it, then pursue that, and chase it as far as you possibly can. Just because I think that that's why we come here, is to pursue that joy and to spread that joy elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That may be something that we can drill down on a bit later. Mm-hmm. But when you say the joy that drawing brought to you as a approximate 5-year-old, can you remember some of the different emotions that you were feeling of that joy?
Yeah, so it was excitement, because I knew that even at that age, I knew that I had all these worlds in my head, and I needed to get them out somehow, and I needed to tell stories. I was always a storyteller first, and I think that was my biggest kind of passion. Was I wanted to tell these really cool stories, but I didn't necessarily have all the techniques and the skills to do it, but I knew what was up there, and I knew that I wanted to get it out. And so when I was drawing and when I was writing, it was more than just a physical hobby for me. It was like it was a part of me that I needed to make manifest and show people. Oops, sorry about that. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to continue pursuing that passion and get it out into the world. And so again, it was more than just joy. It was a feeling of wholeness, I would say.
So just so I can understand this, so you're 5 years old, right? Approximately 5 years old.
Right.
And a lot of times when you have like young people, like we think, oh, well, they're not really paying attention. They don't know these things. This was something that was inside of you that was obviously something that you had to get out.
Exactly.
And you were able to do that in whatever realm it was. And at that time, it was sketching.
Right.
You had support from your close family members. Mm-hmm. So that just encouraged you to do it. Was there a particular time when you were a child, like grade school or anything, where it started to click?
Yes. It wasn't until Actually, no. It was in middle school when I started to pursue art seriously. I was going to take classes elsewhere outside of just my regular, daily class time. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm good at this, and I'll never forget. And I wish that I actually had his contact information like he gave me. But there was a class that I took at the University of Pennsylvania. It was University Arts Summer Camp or something like that. And one gentleman in particular, one of the teacher's aides, he saw my potential, and he said, you need to continue this. This is something that I see the potential in you, and you need to continue. Like, he was like, here, take my email, just in case you ever need a reference or anything like that. His name was Leland. But I never, I lost the sheet, and I've been searching for this individual for a long time, but haven't been able to find him. But, it was at that point that I knew that this could be a potential career, and it wasn't until high school, however, that things kind of flipped on me. It was, and I got afraid my senior year. I let the societal worries of, oh, you're going to be hungry, there's no way that you can possibly be an artist and like afford to live, and I let that kind of deter me from what I knew what I was supposed to do. And I think everything happens for a reason, but it definitely took me to another track, for sure.
So when we talk about Leland. Mm-hmm. All right, so I want to put this out there because, this would give me so much joy.
Right.
If the next time I talked to you, you said, yeah, I connected with Leland.
Right.
And so forth. So approximately what year was this at the University of Penn for the summer camp that Leland was there and encouraged you?
It would have to have been between like 2000 and 2005 to 2000 and... Man, it was a while ago, but...
So like 2005, 2008, we'll say?
Yeah, I want to say around that time period.
Sure. So how about this, folks? I know there's some listening folks in Philadelphia and probably some UPenn folks as well. If there is a Leland that you could send out to your networks who worked at the summer camp at the University of Pennsylvania, and it's an arts camp, between 2005 and 2008. Why don't you reach out to Rashad Malik Davis? I think that it would be nice to see it not only encourage Rashad and what he's done, but also to encourage Leland, because he's obviously made an impression on a young person's life who is now living out their dream, satisfying their soul, and he had a part to do with it. So Rashad, why don't you share your contact information so someone, if they find or know Leland, they can actually get in touch with you?
Sure. So if anybody wants to follow up with me or just contact me, my email is R.E.A.C.H illustration, so R.A.M.A. L-I-K illustrations @gmail.com, and that's my website as well, www.ramalikillustrations.com.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who just would rather Google it or search on the internet, it's Rashad R-A-S-H-A-D,
yes. Yep.
Malik, M-A-L-I-K, Davis, D-A-V-I-S, and it'll come right up as well. And the links to that will be connected to the Trenton 365 show Facebook page and on the website as well, Trenton365.com. And then you can click on the links there as well. So we're going to try to get you in contact with Leland, who was a counselor or an instructor at the University of Pennsylvania's summer camp for the arts between 2005 2008. Someone out there has to know. So let's see if we can track them down, and then maybe we can get you and him together in
awesome.
for a show. That would be fantastic. Or maybe we can go on the road and go wherever Leland is and work this out.
I would love that.
Well, great.
I love that.
So let's transition a little bit now and move towards high school, junior high school and high school, because one of the things that I really appreciate about people is when they take the veil away and they're very open and they say, look, I've had struggles. I mean, this has been difficult. This wasn't woke up, decided to do this, started to click, now I'm a success. Like, there's a lot of peaks and valleys in life in general. So I'd like for you to share your experiences like junior high school and high school while you were trying to discern, hey, is this really what I want to do?
Right. It's so funny, and it's not something that I've had a chance to talk with kids about extensively, just because my time with them is typically limited to an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours. But, I think that we will make ourselves our own worst enemy, for sure. And during junior high, I knew that I was interested in the arts. I was a singer slash kind of artist, and I knew that I loved both, and I kind of had to narrow it down a bit. It wasn't until high school that I kind of started to move into my visual arts kind of identity. And that's how people knew me. They're like, oh yeah, Rashad, he's a really good artist. Like, hit him up if you need something with art, And it was so funny. And I always, and luckily I stay in contact with, my closest teachers from high school and middle school and college. And my art teacher at the time, Mrs. Clem, and I'm so, grateful for her. I was in class one day. Actually, it was during my free period. I went to go visit her. And I was just sketching away, and she stopped, she was walking around and just stopped above me, and she was like, what are you going to do for college? And I was like, I don't know. I think I might go and study anthropology. She was like, what? She was like, you can do this, and you want to go study anthropology? And I was like, yeah, but money. And she was like, she couldn't believe that I was willing to forfeit what I was good at and my passion for safety. And that's, what a lot of people do, and I don't blame people for that. But I realize now that there's going to be inherent risk whenever you want to pursue your happiness, and that's unfortunately just how it goes, that you have to risk, or seemingly you have to risk or sacrifice something to get from point A to the point B that you want.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We're just about up on a break. I'm interviewing my friend Rashad Malik Davis, who is an artist and an author. And for those of you who are watching, this is his book, Carefree Like Me. And we're going to get into more details about this book and some of the wonderful things that he's been doing with sharing his skill and his gift with some of the young people in his region as well. We'll be back after a short break. You're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show.
It took me a long time to be able to say Chandler has cancer, because that is such a scary word. St. Jude takes care of absolutely everything. And knowing that we don't have to pay for all of the medical expenses, that's huge.
St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
St. Jude is uniquely positioned to advance the cures of pediatric cancer, I think better than any other institution in the world. The contributions make a big difference.
Donors are important to us because you get the feeling that you have a team behind you. We have the resources and we have the focus. And so if St. Jude doesn't do it, who will?
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
And welcome back to the Trenton 365 show. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. In the studio with me is Rashad Malik Davis, who is an author and an artist. And I'm glad to say that this young man is my friend. This is the cover of his book, which has recently been finished, but he's on this whirlwind tour. He's now teaching, he's sharing his skills and his techniques, and we're going to get into all those details. I'm not going to let them out now. You're going to have to stick through the whole hour of this show or check out the archives later on Trenton365.com or on the Trenton 365 show Facebook page. So, Rashad, you were talking about, I want to summarize. So up to this point, it's been very clear that you've had a lot of support from family, I'm sure friends, because you said friends in high school were saying, hey, yo, you need something done with art, hit up Rashad.
Right.
Family, friends, and also your educators, your teachers, your instructors.
Exactly.
Can you talk about some of those relationships?
Sure. So I'm trying to think of people. Okay, so, with right off the bat, just most recently, I've just been very blessed with so many mentors and so many people who have come to kind of step in at the right time. The universe was like, bloop, and just kind of drop it.
Here's what you need.
Exactly. It was like, bloop, right when I need you. But just, there's so many people I could name, but two people that I want to name specifically are both Jacque Ivy and Eric Thomas, because they both have been so incredible and just so giving with their time and their love and their support. Through Eric, I've been able to become a roster artist for young audiences in New Jersey, which is really exciting. And now I get to officially become someone who's a representative of this organization, but also go into schools and teach a workshop about empathy and character design. And it's just incredible. And I met Jacque a while back at an old job at Fast Signs in Lawrenceville, and I met her through that, and she has just been incredible in terms of supporting me, coming to events and being like, hey, and just being a spokesperson for me wherever she goes. So it's been really tremendous to have them both in my corner. Historically, I've had a whole bunch of people who have come out to support me. So my high school teachers, Mr. Galano, Mr. Dondero, Mrs. Klim. Mr. Galano was my religion teacher when I was in high school, and we both kind of met when we were first coming into the program together and into the school. So I was a freshman and he was new to the school, and he's been tremendous. I have dinner with his family sometimes. It's been incredible, and I make it a point to always come back and circle back and be like, hey, you're important to me, and I want to let you know, like, let's hang out. And not only has that sustained positive relationships with people, but it's also made it so that my career can move forward a bit, because they know people who know people who know people who know people. So my philosophy with everybody is just kindness, and it comes back to you kind of tenfold with whoever you work with and kind of know.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably resonates because of the type of person that you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's nice to hear that you mentioned Eric Thomas and Jacque Dent Ivy, who are good friends of mine as well. And there's a lot of like-mindedness, moving through the area, through the region, through the universe, and I'm glad to see people connect. I mean, that's all I want to do, is connect people together, give them the opportunity to shine and to do what they do best, and that's where I feel fulfilled. So I'm really glad to hear that Eric Thomas and Jacque Dent Ivy and the other teachers from your high school are still in your life, and you still have a relationship with them. And I foresee that that's probably what's going to continue to happen in your life, and that's why you're probably going to continue to have this type of success, because of the energy that you give off, but also the relationships that you've developed.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about your book, because there's a bit about the characters in the book, and you talk about your friends and stuff when you were younger.
Right.
Yeah, why don't you go right into talking about that?
Sure. So as I mentioned the first time that I was here with you, the characters are based on both me and my best friend Nina, and I've known her for 18 years now. And the story literally jumped in my head one day, and I was like, oh my God, I have to get this on paper. But as I was writing it, I realized how perfect storytelling with our two personalities was. So I'm more sensitive. I think more with my heart more than my head, which can kind of get me in trouble sometimes. And likewise, Nina thinks more with her head and less with her heart. So I thought it'd be really cool to kind of tell this story about two best friends who are kind of in a predicament, and they have to rely on each other for where what is weak, the other one has to compensate. And so it's two best friends who end up traveling to the spirit world, and it's the story really is kind of a chronicle of all the love that I've experienced and all the people that I've met. So the characters, whether or not I put their names in there as my friends, are representatives of my friends and myself and my family. Everybody's kind of woven into the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Now, talk about the process of getting it on paper.
Sure.
And I want to preface this by saying, I always have something to write with and something to write on.
Right.
And I've got notepads all over the place, and God bless my family who are like at this point they're kind of cool with it. Like if I have a napkin that has stuff on it, it looks like scribble scrabble. They won't even throw it away. They'll just kind of like, nah, that's Daddy's, just leave it there. And so I don't know how to do that. I haven't gotten to the point with my writing and my exercises to be able to get it down on paper, to get it out so fast. So can you talk about your process?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I literally anytime I'm about to write, I pray, because I pray to my own ancestors, God, everyone who can come in and kind of help the creative process along, because what I do is I write in bursts, so I don't necessarily write piecemeal. I write the whole story. It just comes to me really quickly, and it comes to me in creative bursts. So that has its advantages and disadvantages, because if I don't have a whole story, then I won't necessarily end up writing something. But as soon as I do, then it's like, and that's how this first story came about, was that I just wrote the whole thing kind of in one sitting and then edited it and cut it down and added pieces. And that's the same thing that I did with the upcoming book, Chapter 2. Yeah, so it's kind of all over the place.
And do you traditionally, do you sit with your computer and put it in digitally, or do you handwrite it?
It's interesting. For the first book, I did it handwriting. I was like, okay, I have to get this out. There's something about physically touching a paper that was super important for me for that first book. And actually for the second book as well, I ended up doing drafts and stuff on first on sheets of paper, but then as soon as I was able to get a cohesive story down, I just kind of wrote it really quickly down on the laptop. I was like, just really quickly. It's very interesting trying to transfer things digitally, from your mind digitally to paper. It's kind of a different process. On paper, there's more of a process for me, whereas if I'm doing it digitally, I just kind of not rush everything, but I end up writing everything through fully, as opposed to piecemeal. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, when you're teaching your classes and your workshops, do you instruct that particular method, or you think that that's something that each individual person has to find out for themselves?
Oh yeah, I think writing styles are as unique as fingerprints. I think everybody has their own creative process. Some people think of whole stories within the shower, but what I instruct when I'm kind of working with children and working with classes, that I say, use something a bit more structured, because that's how I work typically, is that I'll try and have a structured format, and then I'll have major points in the story that I want to touch on, and then kind of fill in the rest as I go. So that's kind of what I teach the children is, have the major points, and in kind of storytelling lingo, it's called story beats. It's the most important points in a story when you're telling it. It's kind of like an elevator pitch. What are the points that would keep me interested to go from point A to point B of the story?
Okay, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, because I'm of that age where it was like, I just typewriters,
Right.
His favorite typewriter.
Always wanted one of those.
No, I don't think you do. Maybe they just sit there as a decorative design, maybe,
Right.
but I don't think you actually want to use one. I would assume it would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around, how you do this, and like you said, it just comes out of you and flows, and you're able to digitally put the whole book together. And I'm sure it's not soup to nuts, 50, 60, 100 pages or whatever,
right.
But at least it's enough that you can go back and kind of fill in the spaces.
Exactly.
And do you find that you need to be in a particular space when you do this? You hear stories about authors needing to go away into this quiet space.
I was just
or
thinking
anything
about
like
that recently too. But as far as my process goes, I just need to be comfortable. Comfort is kind of the mandatory ingredient for me to create something, because if I'm not comfortable, then my mind is focusing on what's making me uncomfortable. So, as in terms of space, I like to be in my own home. I think that definitely helps a lot. Wherever home is, it helps me to create. I typically would need music to kind of get into the zone. And for Chapter 2, for example, it's because I'm touching on different cultures and different people, and this particular book is about the Aztecs. I looked up ancient Aztec music, like indigenous Aztec music, and I found some really great stuff, and it actually ended up creating a plot point in the story that helped me finish the book. So I like to be in the particular setting that I'm working in, and because I often work with culture and understanding people's different ways of life, I tend to need to be in that mental space of their culture to do it.
Now, we're just about up on a break, but I'd like for you to take at least 90 seconds or so and talk about the importance of the cultural relevance in your books. I know before when we were talking we were sharing about how oftentimes literature is separated.
Right.
And we need to provide opportunities for people to actually see themselves, characters who look like them, and to also intermingle different cultures as well, especially in a densely populated state like Jersey.
Exactly.
So if you could just add on to that, and then after the break, we'll get back into it.
Sure. So, literature to me, or just the arts in general, can be a mirror and a window, a mirror to reflect kind of your own beauty and a window into somebody else's world. And I think, with this particular book series, that's what I'm trying to do, is show children that there's more to life than just your own perspective, and that there's beauty in difference, that we don't have to be afraid of it, that we should embrace it, because there's, I think within diversity, there's ways to see the world in a whole new way. And I think that's kind of the power of this book. So
that's awesome. We're going to get back into that just after the break.
Sure.
I'm speaking with Rashad Malik Davis, who is an author and an artist, and we're going to be touching more on the art aspect of his book, Carefree Like Me, and I'm holding it up for those of you who are on radio. That's what that silence is. And you're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show, and we'll be back after a short break.
McDonald's is taking it up with their new signature sriracha sandwich, topped with crispy onions, fresh baby spinach, and kale. So I'm taking my voice up with an exclusive sriracha mac sauce with just the right amount of spice, maybe a little more. Now enjoy the same sriracha mac sauce with your McNuggets. Get a 20-piece McNuggets and sriracha mac sauce dipping sauce for only $5. But hurry, it's only for a limited time. Limited time offer at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal.
Right now, get any small McDonald's smoothie, frappe, or shake for $2. I mean, how do you top a delectably luscious, crave-inducing, gimme now so I stop melting deal like that? Oh yes, of course. Whipped topping. That's how. So hurry in. Only at McDonald's.
Enjoy a small McCafe smoothie, frappe, or shake for $2. And for a limited time, try a refreshingly sweet peach smoothie. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, I had one thing on my mind. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball every chance I could. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. I'm Paul George. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke, F-A-S-T, fast. Life is why. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Have you ever needed help and not known where to find it? For more than a century, Catholic Charities Diocese of Trenton has been offering assistance to people of all faiths in central New Jersey. We envision a world where all people reach their full potential, achieve self-sufficiency, and live in a just, compassionate society. Our services include help with rent or utilities payments, financial counseling, family and individual counseling, substance abuse treatment, and domestic abuse prevention and treatment. For more information about our broad array of services, please visit us at www.catholiccharitiestrentton.org.